From gritty rap songs to trending club attire, the tall, green, and wide LA Slauson Swap Meet has stood as an integral part of South Los Angeles, sitting at the crossroads of culture and socioeconomics. So, what's the story behind the LA Slauson Swap Meet anyway, and how has it added to the fabric of South LA? Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the South LA Recap. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to learn more about South LA on the regular. Today we're going to take a look at the LA Slauson Swap Meet and how it rose out of deindustrialization in South LA. But knowing this phenomenon hasn't occurred everywhere, how did the Slauson Swap Meet end up on 1600 West Slauson? And what did that mean for the community? Going back into Los Angeles building and safety records, the first piece of property located at 1600 West Slauson was a house with a barn built in 1919. 20 years later, that house and parcels around it were acquired by a new owner to build a series of stores, for which about 11 years served the Harvard Park community of South Los Angeles. In 1948, those stores were razed to build a factory and office building leased by Lightcraft of California. Lightcraft of California was a company that sold light fixtures that were pretty swanky, modern, and now considered vintage for several residential spaces. In fact, this particular space was used as a factory and a distribution point for the company in Los Angeles. Lightcraft continued to operate in the factory and office building at 1600 West Slauson for 24 years. Yet in 1984, the company ran its last liquidation ad in the LA Times and ceased production of its lights in Los Angeles. Less than a year later, in February of 1985, the factory building was acquired by a new owner, Mr. Park DJ, who submitted an alteration permit to convert the factory into a retail location. In November of 1985, just a year since Lightcraft of California vacated its factory, the Korea Times ran an advertisement announcing the grand opening of the LA Slauson Swap Meet on December 5th, just in time for the Christmas season. Wait a minute. How did this factory turn into an indoor swap meet all of a sudden? This requires expert advice. I reached out to Dr. Alex Stewart, an urban historian and Mellon Jr. Fellow at University of Pennsylvania. Dr. Stewart knows everything that there is to know about indoor swap meets, and he took me back to the roots of the indoor swap meet phenomenon in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, the indoor swap meet boom was really actually a product of Los Angeles, in that one being the deindustrialization of South LA and in the greater LA metropolitan area during the early 1980s that really opened up a lot of space, and concurrent with the closure of factories ranging from GM to aerospace industries in the San Fernando Valley to many smaller industries.
So as commercial and manufacturing companies left the region, these new establishments came in and used the space to create a source of convenience for the region. Outdoor swap meets are a lot different from indoor swap meets. In outdoor swap meets, you can find secondhand goods, sometimes custom goods, seldom something new. In indoor swap meets like the ones we're seeing here, they're known for custom garments, inexpensive clothing, and even places that you can get new and cheaply installed electronics.
There was an initial swap meet called the Western Swap Meet in Koreatown that was opened in November of 1983. And it was structured sort of like a market you'd find in Seoul. It was a garment and textile market, and it lasted for only 2 years. It was so successful that the property owner decided to tear it down and to build a shopping mall. So a bit of irony there. What happened was that many of the vendors within that business in Koreatown ended up sort of scattering and opening up, in some cases with friends and other people who pooled their capital, opening up swap meets like the Compton Swap Meet, and then other vendors sort of moved out into South LA and the San Gabriel Valley and the San Fernando Valley, sort of fueling a proliferation of swap meets.
At the same time, a trip to the Slauson Swap Meet, or any swap meet for that matter, was a lot of times more convenient than traveling outside of the neighborhood to shop. To learn more about the Slauson Swap Meet, I actually reached out and talked to my dad, Garth McAdams, who immigrated from Jamaica to Los Angeles. And here's his experience with the Slauson Swap Meet.
I know about the Slauson Swap Meet from in the 80s, like 1988. My first outfit I get where I wear and socks come from the swap meet, Slauson Swap Meet. That was the first time when I in California, somebody brought it to my attention, lay them out, they tell me where they get them from, that I never been to Slauson Swap Meet. And then that's why I get introduced to Slauson Swap Meet, and then I come a Slauson Swap Meet baby, like everybody else. We go buy clothes and jewelry. When you want to go to a concert, that's where you go buy your outfit at. Wherever you going, that's where you go get your outfit. You want some jewelry, that's where you go get your jewelry from. Whatever you want in accessory like clothes, earring, anything, the Slauson Swap Meet.
Now that we know more about indoor swap meets, we can actually look more into the LA Slauson Swap Meet and its founder. Like we saw before, the Korea Times ran an advertisement announcing the grand opening of the LA Slauson Swap Meet, operated by Michael Yoon. In his research, Dr. Stewart found that Yoon started the Slauson Swap Meet with his wife Sandra in 1985. And it wasn't long after that the LA Slauson Swap Meet became one of the largest swap meets in all of Los Angeles.
You know, most swap meets were actually quite small. They ranged in size from maybe 10 booths to maybe 50. The Slauson Swap Meet, on the other hand, was a former industrial building and quite large, with hundreds of vendors.
While swap meets became more common in the mid-'80s, they faced a number of protests and boycotts by the end of the decade. In particular, a tension between Korean vendors and African American shoppers developed over tense arguments and disagreements across several stores. The grassroots group called Organization of Mutual Neighborhood Interest, Omni, called to boycott Korean American merchants because of these sour business encounters, citing anecdotes of rudeness and failure to exchange or refund products sold at the individual swap meet shops.
A lot of the critiques were justified in that there was a perception that was true, that the ownership was not leasing booths to African American vendors, despite the fact that the vast majority of customers at Slauson were Black. After that protest and boycott, the Yoons, who operated the swap meet, they basically embarked on a public relations campaign and held a series of trainings with their vendors to try to heal that divide.
By the early 1990s, the LA Slauson Swap Meet became one of the largest swap meets in the cities to reach an agreement with Omni, ending the small but mighty boycott. This resulted in all vendor merchants guaranteeing receipts and providing a minimum 72-hour return or exchange policy. The swap meets also promised to work with the community to uplift African Americans, the swap meet's primary clientele. But the swap meet didn't stop there. It developed a new customer complaint system, and it hired a new African American customer service representative to help solve any conflicts or arguments on the spot. That should have solved the problem, right? By 1991, there were over 100 swap meets in the city of Los Angeles, and Yoon at the time had expanded the LA Swap Meet to over 150 micro retailers. In April of 1992, however, Central and South Los Angeles were under fire after an unwelcome verdict on the Rodney King police beating. Swap meets, along with many other Korean establishments, were targets of looting and arson. The Slauson Swap Meet, however, survived the looting and the arson not by faith, but by fire.
Well, that was a sight to see. There was guard in the swap meet on the roof with their security. It not only Korean was up there, Black people was helping them. That's their security. They have a security army. Swap meet is the only place nobody ever go, and they try, but they would get shot at. So you just try pass.
Today, the Slauson Swap Meet stands as an iconic cultural monument in South LA. While swap meets like these started in an attempt to fill the convenience gap in several LA neighborhoods, many of them have not weathered the test of time. The Slauson Swap Meet, however, still remains busy on a Saturday morning with over 120 vendors still active on any given day. Whatever the case is, indoor swap meets have a long-standing history ranging over 40 decades that is interwoven within South LA history. That's all for this episode of the South LA Recap, and I really hope you guys learned something new today. If you guys have any questions or if you want to share your experience at the Slauson Swap Meet, leave it down in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys around on the recap.